Hello, and welcome to the As You Are podcast. My name is Leslie Vandergenst. I'm the founder of Enso Coaching and Consulting, and I am here with Libby Dentling, one of our amazing coaches.
Yay!
And we are calling this episode of the podcast
Unplugged.
Unplugged.
That's right.
We're just going to talk. We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about our kind of path to Enso Coaching and Consulting. We're going to just talk about ourselves personally a little bit. And it's more of a conversation than the normal format, which I think
But hopefully there will be some good nuggets in there for you to take away.
Always good nuggets. Yeah. You know, we were just talking, Libby, before we came in here about the kids. You know, one of the things we haven't ever really talked. I mean, maybe I guess a little bit in Alice Daly's interview, but we haven't really talked very much about
our children
being moms. And last night, the girls are doing a production of Descendants the musical.
Yeah,
and they were at rehearsal from 4 to 8.
Yeah.
p.m. And so we were, and you know, the rehearsal's on the other side of town. So we're driving all the way across town and then driving all the way back. And I am tired.
I mean, I think it's different when it's your kids that are doing, when you're like the carpool back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, that is more exhausting than actually, you know, both of us have theater backgrounds, but being in the rehearsal yourself, I'm like, I would rather be there like doing the thing than having to. Yeah, I mean, I told you this morning, I was like, I feel like I was up till midnight, and it was 8.
Like, it was 8:30, you know, whatever.
It's a hustle.
I know. I mean, being like, you know, I just heard this morning that there's like this new study on parental burnout, which doesn't that feel so real?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, thinking about too, there's so many, you hear about job burnout and like, here's what you do for that. And
like, what do you do when it's your own kid? You can't like go reestablish your values and you can't go find new children. And, you know, and again, like, I think the thing that's so important about these kids is like, the time that we spend with them and letting them be exposed to so many things.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of it is, you know, Ryan last night in the middle of the night woke up with like leg cramps. And then of course I'm laying in bed awake thinking about are we doing too much? Like, you know, is she, you know, she's doing this theater program and then she's in gymnastics and then she's also playing flag football, which is really cute.
Yeah.
But like, that's a lot of stuff. And when I was 8, I don't feel like my parents like plopped me in front of a TV and were like, here's the Nintendo.
Here it is.
And I got really good at the Nintendo, but you know.
I think finding that balance, you know, for kids too, it's balance for us, it's balance for kids, but you know, what is too much and what is, and especially, you know, at the end of your workday when you have this limited amount of time to spend, and so much of the time is in the car or on the way to activities and things like that, which you know are things that they love to do. So sometimes I think in the same way that we have to evaluate, you know, what we're doing in our roles and you know work-wise, I think sometimes too looking at our kids and being like, okay, what is the balance of how much time are you committing to something that you love, and are you still able to be a kid and, you know, do the weird stuff like go dig in the backyard and, you know, or as we do in my home, we have trampoline foam parties. So
sounds like your 20s.
I know, right? I was like, I did this in college. I don't like to brag about being a really cool mom, but
I mean, a trampoline foam party sounds amazing. I know it's like, and it is like, you know, I just feel like with screen, you know, there's this screen balance, which is like, you don't want them to have too much screen time, but also like them being exposed to that is like being exposed to what is today and like what
you're gonna spend your day on it.
Like here we are like making these podcasts for YouTube and whatever.
They can just listen to our podcast. That's your screen time, and you get to hang out with your mom. So it's like,
my gosh,
2 birds with one stone.
Win. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just a balance of like being, you know, there's the screen time and like my kids they like their screen time. They like look forward to it, and so there's the balance of that doing these activities, which is like obviously time consuming and obviously maybe like physically demanding on them. And then there's like all of the school academic stuff. And then it's like trying to be like, okay, we're going to do a foam like a trampoline party or like here's like an art project. Like I am constantly getting like those little like porcelain things for them to paint or like, you know, because I want them to use their like creative brains also when they're at home. So it's not just like sitting around on their iPads all day.
I rage cleaned our craft closets the other day. That was, you know, because we have lots of things where, you know, the little painting things, we do lots of that, lots of coloring books, lots of everything. I mean, and it just all accumulates.
Yeah.
And so when one of them is like, I want to paint, and they go over to the closet, I'm like, no,
my closet.
Trying to run to like stop them from just like pulling the one thing that then causes everything or putting things in weird places.
I know. I mean, it's just a balance, and then try to keep. I don't know. It is a hard job trying to be a mother and then do all the other things that we have to do, like manage your family and do work and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I think when they're young, so my girls are 9 and 4. And so I think that there's definitely challenges, like when you have a baby, like that's a whole like, you know, crazy challenge. But then as they get older and they start having personalities and things that they want to do and passions of their own and say and how they spend their time, I think that comes with a whole new set of challenges.
You're so right.
And so it's very much this ever evolving.
Yeah.
The same challenges that, you know, we had when they were babies is not, now it's like, okay, I want to do all these things.
Right.
And school.
And yeah. Yeah, everything. Well, and they're different, right? So there's also this like, you know, Jack is 5 and then Ryan's about to turn 9. And Jack can sit and like read. He'll sit and just like thumb through a book, or he'll go and like build something, you know, with his blocks or whatever. Like he will put the iPad down after a while and then go like do something creative just naturally on his own.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan will sit on the iPad. Like she'll just, you know, she'll scroll and continue playing. And I have to think about like how much time has she been on there and like what else do we need to do and how else do we need to get creative. And also like this whole like screen time grumpy, like have you experienced when you pull like and we do the whole like warning, you know, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes
warning,
and then they get off the iPad and then they're just mad.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, and I just wonder if it's like the like deep focus being pulled out of kind of that like world
bubble
that sucks you in.
Yeah.
No wonder like there are all these studies around screen time being super unhealthy because you like see it when they're off of it.
Oh,
you know?
When I'm trying to like ask Nora something and I'm like, hey, Nora, hey, like and she's, huh? I'm like, oh my God. But I think too, there's the challenge too of being a parent to, you know, both kids and pouring equally into them and giving them both what they need.
Right.
And
which can look very different.
Especially, you know, if they're very much into different things.
It sounds like leadership, Libby.
It does.
It's what we talk about, right? Is when you're leading a team, like everybody has different needs. You have to pour into people in a different way. You have to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And it can be so easy, like if you have an easy kid, to like ignore them.
Yeah.
Because they've
got it all down.
They've got it all down. And yet, you know, that's the one that'll grow up and be like, my mom never loved me.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, or whatever, right?
But it's figuring out in that balance, like what you need to do for each kid and, you know, it's your tiny, irrational, angry team of, you know, It's of people that get really mad at you for breakfast. Breakfast is one of our constant struggles in my home. It doesn't matter. I will always lose breakfast. I have to be ready for, even if we agree upon something the night before, that's what is, everyone's excited about it. The next morning they're going to gaslight me and they're going to treat me like I'm crazy and be like, we never wanted oatmeal. We hate oatmeal. And that is just our mornings. And
oh my gosh.
It's a tiny team of very irrational, crazy people.
Opinionated. They've got a vision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, it's so true. It is so true.
So if you can manage that team, you can manage anyone. Like, there's your skills. There's your transferable skills.
Transferable skills.
You want that? Yeah. That's something, absolutely. You can put that on a resume.
Oh my gosh. It is so true. And it is, I think, like, obviously with just managing the activities and then making sure that the kids are getting the things that they need and like the love and the support that they need, it's always, it's just always a balance of like discipline, love, patience, so that they don't, look back 15, 20 years from now and just like my household was chaotic.
Well, and I know you and I have both had a pretty significant pivot in our careers as far as time that we spend at work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so that is something I will say has been, such a blessing and has really been just amazing to see and have the amount of time to do kid stuff and, be more present. And, and I mean, you, you were a night office human. You were all the time.
Yeah.
Human. And I mean,
thinking, it's the people pleaser side, right? Like it was just that I just want to do a good job and I want everybody to be happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I, the truth is like, it's never enough.
No.
Like it's never enough.
Yeah.
And they don't even know, like nobody notices. It is like some self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
Of like, if I keep working and stay here late, they'll see my commitment to this thing that we're doing that really doesn't matter. I mean, we're not curing cancer. We're not like sending rockets to the moon. I mean, that's not even, like in all honesty, that doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but
yeah.
In this grand scheme of things, what matters is like
at the end of the day, what is your kid going to remember?
Right,
that
exactly.
You were home for bedtime.
100%. I mean, I think I've told you this, there was that moment in the middle of like the chaos of COVID and those were just really like stressful times for me at work. But then also like, I mean, the time at home, like when we had both of the kids at home while you're trying to do your job.
Yeah.
It was an impossible thing. Like I kind of think back to that and like, I don't know. I mean, I remember you and I talking about getting the girls like kindergarten prep stuff ready.
Yes.
For them to do their online their online school stuff. That would take like 4 hours.
Yes. Yes.
Just in and of itself. But I remember there was like a like aha moment for me. And it was like Ryan was, very young. I mean, 5 years old. And she was like, Mommy, she's like, all you ever do is look at your phone. And I was like, oh, because I was in like fear and I was in stress.
You don't want to miss something because if you miss something or if you're delayed in response, then obviously you're not working.
Right. 100%. 100%. And, and did that expectation exist? Maybe. Did I put that expectation on myself? Yes. Did I set any kind of strong boundaries around what that looked like? No, I didn't. And, and so there's that moment of like, do I want my child to like think back to her childhood and all she ever saw was her mother on her phone?
Yeah.
Like that's like a sad.
Yeah.
it's a really sad reality.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we're going to do something that screws them up no matter what,
Yeah.
right? And we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like my coach, told me once, she's like, you can't, there's nothing you can do. Like something's going to sit with them wrong and something's going to cause them to need therapy or like whatever. And the truth is, the only thing that we can do is provide them with the tools, the same tools that we use, like while we're coaching individuals to work through their stuff and take ownership of their world and their lives.
Yeah.
And like, in all honesty, I wasn't in control of my world.
Yeah.
I know, like you weren't.
No.
Like you were working hours.
Yeah. 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 Well, and I mean, even having the, trying to balance everything and constantly, there was one point in my career where the team I was working for, no one had kids, which is fine, but
it's hard.
It's hard, and constantly having to explain, like, I need to like take my kid to a doctor's appointment, or I need to, go pick her up from school, and then I'll pop right back online, and that being just like, thinking that, well, you're taking the whole day off, like you're not even here, and that some of that being there, some of that being stuff that was in my head just about people's reactions to, me needing to have, knowing still that I got my job done, I did everything, but my time was just, it was a little different. Right. And that's such a hard place to be in and an uncomfortable place to be in, especially when you don't come in and I did not set that boundary and set that expectation up front. And then what I was left with was being like, oh God, well, I need to pick up my daughter, but I know that that's not cool. So I'm just going to try to like sneak out. I'll stay active.
Well, that's like fear.
I'll stay active on Slack. I'll like move my mouse around so I can, everyone knows the mouse trick by now, like where you like make everything seem active. So I can sneak out and go pick her up and really hope someone doesn't like call me when I'm on my way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that feels unhealthy.
Awful.
Right. Like how you're showing up, but mostly like how, it's a very simple thing, like needing to take care of your child. And I think there's this, there is this like weird place that we're in where things were so different when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Even working parents, like, they always used to talk about latchkey kids. Like kids would just come home, open the door.
Oh, yeah.
Make yourself at home. You had your snack.
I made a snack and watched Baywatch.
And my mom stayed at home. Like she was a homemaker. My dad was in the military, and I never had a babysitter, and like we would come home and I didn't do after school activities or anything like that. It was just me, just me at home. And there's this like transition of like, I take a lot of pride in the work that I do. And I'm really proud of like what we've created with this business and where we're going and how we're supporting, leaders and all of that. But there's a lot of guilt. And like either A, I'm like not fully present to the business and what that looks like, or B, I'm not fully present to my kids.
Yeah.
And there's not really a way to synthesize what all of that looks like, because the world of like school and kids and raising a family and feeding them healthy food and like is all over the place. Like I mean, Libby, I got my daughter McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah, you did.
Which, like I ate McDonald's a lot as a child. Like I didn't think anything of it, but I took my daughter to gymnastics and she had a McDonald's bag, and I picked her up, and she was like, the kids like kept talking to me about how there's like poison inside of McDonald's, and I was like, oh God, so I can't even take you to McDonald's now. Now there's this like new precedent set where like I got to go take her to like Flower Child and spend $30 a plate.
Right. Get her a little bowl, a nice like.
Which, we eat very healthy when I'm cooking at home, which is, a couple of days a week when I have time.
You got to pick something
but
up on the go.
She has gymnastics at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like we don't have time. Like I got to,
That's car chicken is what.
Car chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, there are better options, but she does like a McDonald's cheeseburger. And I just, I don't know.
We only have one life. I will say though, I think
it's so impossible.
Like for me, like thinking about that guilt and when my last role ended, and then as I was thinking about, okay, what do I want to do next? I could not, like, I would just look at jobs and I was like, I cannot go into another organization and, bust my butt for not myself, but someone else and work really hard and feel like having to split between being a mom and being like a business person and having that, just that feeling of it's never going to be enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do it. And I think that that's why I was like, I cannot picture myself working like in a corporation anymore and not having flexibility or having flexibility and then finding out it's not
really flexibility. I know, it's my favorite.
Oh, yeah. That is one of my favorite things. I think just because I'm someone that has been burned by that.
Yeah.
So I think that when my clients are looking at roles and when they're interviewing, that is always one of my like, oh, they have unlimited PTO. Well, we better find out what that means. We're gonna ask these questions just because it's a hot button for me.
Hey, you know what? Like really good awareness on your part to know that that's a hot button and to turn it into questions and an opportortunity for your clients. I think it's
I'm
great.
like, we're going to make sure that you know exactly what you're stepping into. Yeah. But that was so much of the reasoning for wanting to kind of come into coaching is have control over what I do and who I work with, who I work for, what the product is, feeling good about what I do.
Yeah.
Because
I know. Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, right? Which is like you had gone from being a corporate recruiter. Yeah. The head of recruiting. Yeah. Like, so you're running a team of recruiters saying, go out, sell the dream to all of these humans, bring them in, and then they come in, and then you're like,
gotcha.
Just joking. Yeah. Just a real good salesperson, to flipping that to say, I'm going to help you go find something that's real and good because I know all the tricks of the trade. You knew what you had to do, but you were doing a job that you were hired to do and you were very good at it. And so that's fine, coming to the realization that you felt like, you were selling
dirty
cars. Selling water to a fire hose.
Yeah, that's it. That's the old saying. I was like, I can't, especially when you've done it for, some of the experiences were good, some of them not, as very much not aligned with the mission and knowing what someone was going to step into. And it didn't feel good. And now when I do, because I still do recruiting on a consulting basis, but I also have I can be picky about who I work with.
Yeah.
And I also talk to candidates in more of a coach's way now than I do.
Yeah. It's a different skill set, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before here, which is like, if I would have had that skill set, how much different my world would have been. If I would have had that skill set, like what boundaries could have looked like. And again, I don't, it's not like boundaries and like, I will not do X, but just like, hey, like I do have kids and that is a really important thing for me. And so I'm going to need a little bit of flexibility and I know you're going to need a little flexibility from me. And so like, let's like figure out what that balance looks like. That's a conversation that feels good. It's a win for both parties.
Yeah.
It is a negotiation. And this is just like part of, it's just part of any kind of working relationship. And, I some of the stuff that you were saying, Libby, just about like, like things like flexibility, but even just like leadership, having these conversations about, what is okay and what's not okay. This is why like I'm so passionate about this work and us going in and working with leaders and doing these, we've been doing these leadership workshops to really get clear on, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? Like and I'm going to just talk about this because I think it's really important. We believe that when organizations have strong coaching relationships, they're able to balance the role of leadership, which is so complicated.
Oh yeah.
You have to like get shit done.
Yeah.
And you have to have a vision. You got to figure out how to turn that vision into action.
Yeah.
You've got to measure how effective that is, and you got to get the team all involved.
Yeah.
That's like one thing.
Yeah.
And probably the only thing that most organizations focus on with their leadership teams. And majority of them don't do it that well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So like pillar one is just like, get shit done.
Yeah.
Like, what is the vision? Where are we going? And how are we going to get that done? And how are we going to engage the team in executing on all this stuff in a really effective way?
Yeah.
That's a big freaking job for a leader.
Yeah.
The second piece is understanding the impact. Every decision that I make is a trickle-down effect to multitude of different people, to my peers, to my partners, to whomever. I've got to be crystal clear on how these decisions impact other people. And I've got to be communicating that across the organization to my team, managing up. I've got to inspire around like the impact of the work that we're doing. So that's number 2.
Yeah.
Right? That's like, I think of that as like the project management side of like doing the thing.
Yeah.
And then there's, we've got to grow and develop the humans.
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about with our children.
Everyone's different.
Everybody wants opportunity.
Things.
Everybody values things differently. Yeah. Everybody sees things in a different way. And so how do we engage with the team and like also know when do we upskill? Like when do we invest in somebody to gain a skill, or when do we need to go build out the team, hire more people? And I mean, we were just talking about the kiddos, right?
Yeah.
Like even just looking at 2 children.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to do this for you. You're different. You need this.
Yeah.
I got to spend more time here and I got to spend more time here.
Yeah.
I mean, a team of 5, 10, 15, 20 people, it looks very different.
Yeah.
It looks very different. And that is a huge job in and of itself. And then number 4, which I can guarantee you a very few number of people do this, is like that self-awareness and self-assessment.
Oh, God.
And just recognizing how the way I think can impact what some other people's experiences are.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have a clear understanding of our own baggage, like you had just mentioned, when you're coaching your clients, it's a big trigger for you when somebody brings up, like being aware of that stuff impacts the way that you are going to coach the people that you coach.
Absolutely.
And so like, again, if we have no awareness, like these blind spots can come up and haunt us.
Yeah.
And if we don't,
especially in leadership, the lens that you see
in
things,
leadership,
and who you are able to see as productive and who it's just, that can be, it's so toxic if it's not, when you're not open to.
Yeah. Just recognizing like I have a blind spot.
Yeah.
This is my blind spot. Just start there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't. They just think this is the way that I do it. I'm good at this, and I'm just going to keep going this way,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, the years, how many years I was at one large organization for 17 years.
Yeah.
And then we worked for some small startups and
hired when we were teenagers.
Yeah, we were. I'm only 22, friends. But the 21 years that I've been working.
Yeah, that's upsetting.
Oh boy, the 21 years that I have been working and the countless of businesses that I've had the opportunity to coach and to lead in this capacity. There are 3 things. It is so funny to me because when you're working for an organization, you're like, oh, here are where the challenges are, here are what the like problems or issues are. Mm-hmm. When you're a coach, like you get an opportunity to work with a number of different organizations, a number of different leaders, and a number of different like scenarios.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it is so funny. There are 3 things every single business is dealing with.
Yeah.
Number 1, they have no vision and can't execute.
Yeah.
Number 2, they don't have the right people on the team to get the things done.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3, they have poor leadership.
Yeah.
Or poor leadership capabilities.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, if one of these things is not working, that business is falling the freak apart.
Yeah.
I almost said the other word, but keeping it PG.
We're censoring it now. But that's one of the things that I love so much just about your passion is just coming from this world and again, I mean, I think it comes back to so many of the conversations that we've had is seeing that something was missing and that there could be a better way. And
there is a better way.
There is a better way. There absolutely is. It's within So Coaching. And seeing that need and really deciding to execute on it. I mean, that was a big step.
I mean, we were
going from
secure
corporate,
having like great pay,
bougie life.
I mean, it was a big transition. Like we were just, I mean, I joke about this. This is so funny, but like, parking spot in an office with the beautiful view, like Florida ceiling windows. And, we were just like starting to get tap. We were getting like upgraded and, there's like these things that you're like, ooh.
When I do that, then I'm
Yeah. You get all these things that you think are like, oh, cool. This means like things are, these things are happening and I feel really secure in it. And again, like great pay, great bonuses, like great 401k. I mean, sometimes I'm a little bit like, oh, that was so nice. But we're building it back up.
We're on our way.
But like you have all of those things and it's secure and you don't have to think about 70 things when you're running a business. You only have to think about like I show up and just do a good job here. And you're absolutely right. Seeing an opportunity in every single business, every single organization that exists out there.
Mm-hmm.
It sparked like a really strong passion in me.
Yeah.
And it's scary. It's always, I mean, like our team talks about this all the time. Like, what are the things that we're like worried about and stressed out about? And what are the things that are going really well? And it is scary. Like even when you were like waiting to kind of get started in coaching, like you took a step back and like, and are building up your roster. I mean, you almost have a full roster now. I mean, same with me. It took time.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing because you are like sticking your neck out and saying, I have no idea. And I think there's a little bit of like trust in the process of like, at some point, people will see the value in this. They will catch up to what we believe in and what we feel so strongly about. And they will see the benefits that you reap from this amount of focus in some of those areas that we've talked about. Like just really caring deeply for humans and really caring deeply for their like work, life, world.
Yeah.
If we can like do that at the leadership level, like it trickles down to humans and then humans are able to show up differently and,
Yeah. How do you think, I mean, what have been some of the biggest changes since kind of moving into this role? What have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen kind of in your life, kind of the balance of home life?
Well, it's really funny because you were talking earlier about the car, the carpool, like sitting on the carpool line and like driving from here to there. And it was funny. I had a conversation with my husband a while back about like maybe because my son's about to get out of daycare and we all know daycare is not cheap.
It's not.
It costs a lot of money. So he's about to be done with his like, his daycare stuff. Yeah, we're basically getting a raise. And he was, my husband was like, maybe we need to like hire somebody to help transport the kids from like after school to their after school activities. And, I mean, I thought about it for like 2 seconds and I was like, that's like my time with the kids. Like, even if it is just driving where we can have, a good 20-minute conversation going from school to like whatever their after school activity is, we can have like a nice conversation and it's connection time for us.
Yeah.
And I find that to be really valuable. I don't want to give that to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I never like, and times are different. We didn't have as many of the after school activities, but like,
sure.
I would pick up my kid, like the last kid, at the child care center. they'd be the last one there. I'd pick them up. We'd run home really quickly, eat dinner, and then they're in bed.
Yeah.
That was like, that was our, and eat dinner. I didn't cook. Like I was, you know, I was bringing stuff home. I think we were eating like Snap Kitchen a lot.
Yeah. Those were the days.
At the time, you know, but it was like, that was what we did. And, you know, at least now, I mean, I cook dinner probably 3 nights a week, and the rest of the nights are crazy. We, you know, pack stuff or pick stuff up, McDonald's, I don't know, whatever we do, but I'm at least spending time with the kids. And I think that's been so special.
Yeah.
And
getting the time in when
you can. Yeah. Well, and we, you know, last summer when we were kind of in the building business phase, you know, the girls were doing that summer program, and we got to go like sit with them and experience it. And it was such a like sweet, special time for me. It's such a sweet, special time. And I'll always look back to that being like, oh, that was so cool. I got to like,
we never would have been able to do that.
No.
Shout out Impact Arts.
Impact Arts, man. It was so great. They were doing the Wizard of Oz, and I would take coaching calls in like a empty office.
Yeah.
Whatever school that was. I hope you guys are okay.
Yeah. I mean, and we would talk about, you know, business stuff, and we would sit and meet and talk about building, and meanwhile,
go watch the kids.
We'd go watch the girls, and we were in a show at the same time too. So we're running lines. We're like, I mean, it was, but those are the things I think, you know, as you making sure that you have room for the things that you're passionate about, and really like, you know, us being able to do a show, our girls being able to do a show, also working on business in an environment that is, you know, conducive for us to like get things done, like sitting on the floor of like school office, right? I mean, not having to go into some office building somewhere and do, you know, X, Y, and Z, or log this amount of hours. We know, okay, we have 3 hours of rehearsal that they're working. So what can we do
in the next 3 hours?
Right.
Yeah.
A little bit of what we're passionate about, and a little bit of work. And, you know, I mean, those were.
Yeah. You know, we talked a lot about like the mom side of things, which is, you know, it's just a huge part of like our lives. But I also think back to, you know, you were talking about theater a little bit, and, you know, and that was such a huge piece. And I remember really being in a struggle point on a couple of fronts. Like, number one, when my job started to get more demanding, that it was really hard for me to commit to doing theater. And there were times where I would have to, you know, like either not do a show because we had these like conferences or whatever that we had to do, or I would have to like call the directors and be like, I can't make it to tech rehearsal because I've got to work really late. And I would see myself like, so, you know, again, I think this applies to anybody, even if you're not a mom, that if you have these other passions outside of your job, like how do you balance all of that? And for me, being like a creative person naturally, when I wasn't flexing that muscle, my my work brain was not good. No. Like it was, you know, I just wouldn't, I wasn't quick, and I wasn't solving problems fast. And I found myself like stifled in my thinking. Because like there was this whole other part of me that was being neglected completely. And I think that's the other thing, you know, in really identifying what's important and really trying to say, okay, we're going to bust our ass around like building this business, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that we have to do that is not natural for us so much. That is a sacrifice that I'm willing to make, because I want to have space to every once in a while maybe do a show, maybe not, but have the ability to if I wanted or chose to, and to be able to be with our families and, you know, do other stuff, travel, you know, whatever, right? Yeah. I don't know, Libs. It's good stuff, man.
It is. I mean, it's a constant balancing act, but I think that it's just one of those things that you constantly have to kind of reevaluate where you are and what the needs are. And, you know, just like we've said, because the needs change with kids, with passions, with work, and so just accepting that, you know, oh, this is my job. This is how I do it. This is, I would say to anyone that is in that to kind of take some time and kind of reevaluate and kind of look at what you're doing. And is the need still the same? And people change and they grow and evolve, and what you needed and what you needed to be present for when you first started is not necessarily the need now.
Yeah, exactly. When we go into the workforce, like our there's kind of this like hierarchy of like growth when you join the workforce, and it's really just like, can I do it on my own? Like that's like if I can just do it on my own, if I can pay my bills and I can work a job, then that's like hitting that thing.
But some people never switch out of that mentality, and they're like, I have to be the one.
Yeah.
Whereas you were the one, and you proved that you could, you did the thing.
Yeah.
So, allow space for passions, for family life or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And just, constantly reevaluating that, how does your time is the most precious thing. It's the thing that we don't, you can't get it back. So I think that it's an important thing to really evaluate where your time goes.
Oh, 100%. Time, it's fleeting. 21 years working. It's a long time, girl.
I mean,
our girls are like 9. Like, that's insane, right?
Yes. Little, like, pre-teenagers.
I know.
With pre-teenager attitudes.
Yeah. It's happening. It's showing up.
Oh, yeah. It is.
All right. Well, this was fun, Libs.
I liked it.
It's good. All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining us on this episode of As You Are Unplugged with Libby and Leslie. Yep. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Oh, no.
For more unplugged nature discussions. Thank you. And as always, please join us on all major platforms and subscribe if you can. And we will see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.